Hello, 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 everybody. Hope you can see me and hear me okay. This is Michael Essick coming at you live from sunny Cheshire, outskirts of Manchester. Beautiful day here today. Hope you are all doing well. Um, hello, Amber. We've got Melek here already. Leonard. Hello to Leonard. There's Leonard. So I'm using StreamYard for the first time. This is my first stream in a while. And someone recommended StreamYard so I can do YouTube and Facebook side by side. Make myself a bit bigger there. Whoa, there we go. So I can see your comments from YouTube and Facebook. I can put them on the screen so I can say hello to Yvonne. So this is cool. I like it. Hope you're doing well. This session today is really just a live Q&A, just a very informal hangout kind of a situation. The other thing I should mention is that if you want to come on and join me live, so you can have like, what's the word? You can come on and put your video on and you can ask a question live, then I'll post a link in the comments right now. It's a StreamYard link. And if you have a question you'd like to come on and join me on the stream, then we can do that. Apparently, I've never done that before, but hopefully that would work. If you're up for that and you want to join, then feel free to do so if you're feeling brave. So let me just go through and welcome everyone who's coming on thick and fast, and then I'll go back through and get some questions going. Elma, thank you for joining us. We've got Nicolai's here. We've got Michelle Pentecost is here. South London Reseller. Emily Robbins. Thank you, Emily. Ionis. B&A, hello to you too. Lance is here. We got Henry and Tajbidul. Hope that's right. Jim and Nancy from Ontario, Canada. So thank you guys for joining me. I'm also going live on Instagram right now for the first time. Obviously, not obviously, but this StreamYard thing doesn't stream to Instagram, so I'm doing that on my phone, and that should be interesting. You've got a different view from everyone else. You can't see what's on my screen, so whether this is going to be interesting or useful for you, I hope so. But if you want to go over to my YouTube or Facebook, that's where you can kind of join in a bit more and get the full experience, I guess. So thank you all. This is great. Great turnout already. We got Karen. We got Hui. We got my mum. We got Chris Brown. Michael is here. Hope all is well. Just Yanis, says Yanis. Yeah, okay. Angela from Lanzarote, great. And Alf says good morning, thank you. And Towers open fire. Parisa, I think you sent me a question. That's nice to see that you're here. Daniel and Wendy. Yeah, Wendy says my mum apparently is on. So great to have you all here. Without further ado, let's get into some questions. Before I do, let me just reiterate. So just a free for all today. Just going to answer as many questions as I can. I will prioritize live questions that come in. I did post a comment to the StreamYard link if you want to come on and join me live, and we can have your face and see and hear what you have to say. That would be cool. Otherwise, you can just comment your questions and I will just try and get through as many as possible. So yeah, I'll prioritize live questions. If we run out of those, then I have some backup questions that people have sent in. I'll try and get through some of those. If we have enough time, or if we run out of those, which I don't think we will, judging by the amount of people we already have on, then I have some Redbubble stores that people have asked me to review, so we might do that later as well. But probably about an hour we'll give it here today. I think anything more than an hour is a bit much. But yeah, let's get through some questions. I'll take some live questions and just kind of work my way down. And feel free to ask anything you like. I will, if I can't answer it or I don't have a good answer, I'll just say so. But Generally, I'll take questions on anything Redbubble, merch by Amazon, print on demand, art licensing, anything that you want to ask me about. I'll try my best to answer. So I think first question was from Amber, and Amber asked, "How are you adapting your business during this pandemic?" I don't have a great answer to that question, Amber. Um, I mean, obviously, I'm got the same issues everyone else has, so I'm working from home, as you can see. Things are obviously quite different, but in many ways, I'm used to working on my own and by myself a lot of the time. I don't work with other people, although I have a couple of staff, but we don't all work together. We all work remotely most of the time anyway. So it's not made that much of a difference immediately. Obviously, there has been a difference in terms of like sales and stuff. So in terms of adapting, I don't know that I'm doing that much differently yet. I think I'm waiting and kind of biding my time and looking and thinking and developing new ideas and keeping my ear to the ground, but I've not really made any moves yet that have changed things drastically. Um, so yeah, that's not a great answer perhaps, but maybe I can answer this one better. Which POD platforms are doing well for you? Right now, I would say the one that's holding up the best is TeePublic. That seems to have been unaffected really by any any kind of drop in sales. That's not happened on TeePublic. I have seen a drop on almost all of the platforms. Obviously, merch is out of action. Um, I'd say Etsy is actually holding up very well as well. I've not seen a significant drop in Etsy, and Redbubble has dropped a bit. Um, what else has dropped? I think everything else, there's not that many other POD sites that I sell on, but I have had notices already from some of my offline licensing partners that things are slowing down or they're going to have to delay royalties and stuff. So, so yeah, in terms of POD platforms, TeePublic and Etsy are the two kind of ones that are leading the pack and really doing strongly right now. Um, Everyone else seems to be hitting a little bit of slowdown. And when it comes to POD companies, so the fulfillment companies like Printify and Printful, they are having slowdowns and issues in various ways. Some Printify printers have, um, had to close their doors completely. But generally they're doing okay. So we are having to cancel a few Etsy orders here and there, but most of them are still going out, and we haven't seen a significant drop down um, in sales on Etsy or on TeePublic. So hope that answers that one for you, Amber. Let me scroll down here. Yvonne said, "How am I doing?" That counts as a question. So I'm doing fine, Yvonne. Thank you for asking. I'm doing better than I deserve. Is who says that? That guy on YouTube. Tajib. Is it okay if I call you Tajib? When Merch by Amazon open new design section? I don't know. Let me leave that question up there. I don't know. Obviously, Merch by Amazon is out of action unless you're selling on the UK and Germany, which is still working, and we're still making sales there. When will they reopen? Don't know. I have no inside information on that. My guess is that as soon as some of these lockdown situations begin to lift, the Merch by Amazon will probably shortly reopen after that. I would be surprised if they didn't, but they may not. I've seen some weird comments going on in some groups and stuff of people thinking that they won't reopen or that things have changed forever or anything like that. And I think that's wide of the mark. I mean, I'd be surprised. If Amazon didn't want to get the doors open again as soon as they possibly could, and I think they'll be working towards that. I think merch is profitable for Amazon, and I think they have lots of big partners and people who they work with, and they'll want to get things going again as soon as possible. So I don't know. Hopefully, as soon as we begin to see some of the lockdowns lift, then that will happen. Okay, let me see. Next question as I go down through the list. KDP tips and tricks. Not really, Tajib. we do sell some of our designs on KDP, but it's not been a major focus. It's not something that I really uh, get excited about. I know some people do great, and for some people, it's really something that fits really well with their designs or with their market knowledge and stuff. Um, Personally, we do sell. We make not thousands of dollars a month, certainly, probably hundreds most months, and it's a decent platform. Obviously, it hasn't been shut down in the way merch has, and but in terms of tips and tricks, it's not really my forte. So I'll leave that one for someone who could perhaps answer that one better. Hui asks, "Are you running Facebook ads?" No, not to any kind of t-shirts or anything like that. Not to anything at the moment. Um, I have done Facebook. The only Facebook ads that have ever really worked for me are retargeting ads. So when I was heavily pushing my Shopify store via Instagram, I would retarget visitors with Facebook ads, and I found that to be very profitable in the early days. I have heard and seen, incidentally, that Facebook ads are cheap at the moment. That advertisers are drying up a little bit, and so it could be if you feel like you have a bit of cash and you want to experiment with Facebook ads, now might be a good time to do so. You might find that things are slightly cheaper than they otherwise would be. But I'm not running any at the moment, so I can't really advise too closely on that. I think running Facebook ads directly to selling things like t-shirts is very difficult because your profit margin is obviously quite small anyway, and you don't have a lot to play with. You have to be very good at it to do that, especially to cold traffic, which is why it worked well for me for retargeting, but anything else was never really successful at scale. So so I'll leave that one there. Okay. Melek. Whoa. Just scroll down too far. Oh yeah, thank you, Michelle. It was Dave Ramsey who says he's better than he deserves. Whoa. Okay, loads of questions. Okay, this was the first one I think I saw. Okay, Melek. I want to know: do we need to get copyright for each work? Yes, thank you for asking that, Melek. I do have an answer for that. So my quick answer is if you go to if you go to this page on my site, you will find, I'll just post it in the links. You'll find a more comprehensive answer to that question. The short answer is, sorry, there you go. There's the question I'm answering. Do we need to get copyright for each work? So the short answer is no, you don't. And unless you are probably a recognized brand or you're already selling quite significant amounts of designs or licensing designs very successfully already, then it's something you probably don't need to worry about yet. Now, the tricky part here is that when it comes to registering copyright, if you register your design, if you get the copyright for a design registered, you have what's the word? You're able to get extra damages were you to bring a court case against an infringer, and were you to be successful, you'd be entitled to more damages, up to something like $150,000, I think, in the US. Now, I just think, now personally, I've never registered the copyright for any of my designs. Obviously, I own the copyright because I created them, but I never registered them with the Copyright Office or any copyright office. That's because I think the effort required is not trivial. It takes a little bit of effort to actually register these things in the first place, and it really only matters if you're going to go to law over something, if you're going to actually pursue a case in law, which is obviously something you can do, and people do that. I just think that personally, I would struggle to imagine a situation right now where I would be wanting to hire a lawyer, begin legal proceedings, and so on and so forth. I just think it would be quite a difficult one for me to imagine going through right now. Now, of course, the tricky part is that if you do get ripped off, especially by a company that you could pursue in a legal situation, then if you haven't registered your copyright, your damages are going to be less. So it actually, it's kind of a, what's the word, catch-22 kind of situation. So I think, that's my personal take on it. If you have a design that you think this is going to be great, this is going to be a big hit, it's going to be copied, it's going to be copied on big platforms, and I'm willing to go to law to sue those people, and I'd like to get 150 grand damages. Who wouldn't? Then go and register your copyright for $35 or something. But personally, it's not something that I'm hugely, interested in. It just doesn't make sense too much for me right now. I think it's not the best, it's not a great use of my time. So I hope that answers that. Chris says he loves my book. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that. Next question here. Yanis, I would love to hear your opinion about the T-Mill platform. Haven't personally used it, Yanis, so can't really comment. T-Mill, I think it's a kind of a Printify, Printful kind of service, but they are a hosted platform. So a bit like if Shopify and Printful were one thing, or if it was like Teespring, but a bit different. It's kind of like that. But I haven't used it personally, so I can't really comment. They do look like they're running a professional outfit. I've had a couple of people ask me about them, which would imply to me that they're doing something interesting, or they're at least doing something relatively successful. So if anyone has any experience, please feel free to share. But I personally haven't used them myself. Wendy asks, do you use a service to upload to multiple print-on-demand sites? No, unless you count my sister and her husband as a service who work for me and upload on my behalf most of the time. No, I've never used any of these auto upload services. The only caveat there is we have used Merch Wizard, and you can use Merch Wizard's kind of shortcutty Chromey thing to help you speed through your Merch by Amazon uploads, but it doesn't automate the process. It doesn't automatically do it. I'm just very, very wary of anything that does things on autopilot like that. I think even if they do it on a very low level to try and avoid being caught, I do think it can send signals to websites, and I'm just not at all confident that these things will not land you in some trouble at some point. Not to say that it will get you banned or anything like that, but just in my experience with these platforms, they're not so, what's the word? It's not a situation where things can just go wrong. Things can just drop and change, and a little bit of code goes haywire here, and it just changes things, and it ends up with someone's account being suspended, and then it has to be investigated, and you have to request it back and stuff. And the other reason I've not really used them is because I like to go into Redbubble, to TeePublic, to change colors, to deselect certain products, to reselect certain products. And these platforms don't really allow for that. They're just kind of bulk automation services. So yeah, I've never used those at the moment. Parisa says, is it a good idea to use Aliexpress to publish my t-shirt? My gut reaction would be no, because I think Aliexpress is incredibly cheap, very low price products, and I don't think using print on demand you would be able to compete with the bulk of sellers on there. Aliexpress to me just is very full of low quality stuff and people just outright infringing. On a side journey on that topic, I went on wish.com, wish wish.com, just to see whether any of my top designs had been copied, and they had quite a lot of them. I think wish.com, I don't know how you'd set this up, but Wish, you can buy t-shirts on there. Like I could find my designs infringed for like $7 or $9 or something. I think they must be the cheapest way to get a design on a t-shirt that I'm aware of. Of course, it takes like I did actually order one. I ordered one of my own designs infringed. It cost like $7 because I wanted to see what would happen. How long would it take to show up? What was the quality like? Where does it come from? All that kind of stuff. It still hasn't shown up. That was at least a month or two ago. So I don't know if I'll ever see that $7 again. But But if you could work out a way to somehow fulfill via wish.com, if the quality was good enough, of course they're infringing you and stuff. I'm being very facetious, but they are the cheapest way I've found to find any kind of t-shirts. And if you've ever had a t-shirt that's been successful, you can probably find it on there for like $7 or something. Okay, Lance has a question. Lance, question: when commissioning design work, do you have any tips on giving directions, instructions to get a good result? Yes, great question, Lance. So to get the best result for a design, what you need to do is just have a crystal clear idea in your head of exactly what you want. So this came relatively easy to me because I am a designer by trade, if you like, or by habit or crap, whatever. So it was relatively easy for me to tell a designer this is exactly what I want, and I can give them. I usually give them fonts, I give them colors, I give them examples, I give them, links, and I give them things. I say I want it to look like this, or I want the line work to be like this design, but I want the style and the treatment to be like this design, and then you can, you're almost guaranteed to get kind of what you're looking for. And obviously, I would usually sketch the design in some detail and tell them kind of exactly what I'm looking for. I'd even sketch the design using the colors I wanted. So if I wanted it on a black background, I'd use a black background and I'd do the artwork in white, and then I'd use yellow for the particular sketchy part of the design that I wanted that way, so that the designer just has all the information they need. Because I understand, having been a designer for a while and having been commissioned for stuff, how difficult it is when you get a crappy brief, when you get a brief where someone doesn't explain things very well. And I know that the more information you give, the more you explain, even if you just do your best to describe the design and the feel you're looking for using words and language. You don't necessarily have to have graphics, but if you can just give me the picture of what you're trying to do, then it makes life much easier. So I would say that's really the main thing, is when you're commissioning design, don't think of it as, here's a funny line, here's a funny quote, please do me a design like this. Or even worse, say something like, do me some funny dog designs, or do me some funny coronavirus designs or something. What you want to do is have a clear picture in your head, a very clear, what's the word? Concept in your head, so that when you're describing it to the designer, they get it clear, So I hope that makes sense. So Lance followed that up with, I send a general idea of what I'm looking for, explain the joke if necessary, and provide color palettes, fonts, reference images, etc. So yeah, I would say, as far as possible, less of the general and as much as possible as specific as you can possibly be. All the way down to, what is the illustration style that you're after? Is it to be a realistic sketch? Is it to be a cartoony sketch? If it's to be a cartoony sketch, does that mean an anime style sketch or a kiddies style sketch, or does that mean outlined graphics, or does that mean vector flat colors? There's obviously a lot of detail you can go into it, but I think if you don't have that picture in your head of the kind of thing you're looking for, then it's very hard for a designer to fulfill it successfully. Okay, Sarah D, is it worth having a Redbubble storefront, or merch banners and most people work to avoid showing all their designs as one brand? Good question, Sarah. I think, so Redbubble, I don't really understand what you mean by asking, is it worth having a Redbubble storefront? Unless I'm mistaken, if you sell on Redbubble, you have a storefront by default, and it's your account, basically. Maybe they have some new custom kind of customizable storefront, but as far as I know, that's just a new word for what they've always had, which is your Redbubble account. But to get to the kind of crux of your question, does it make a huge difference on sales? Not necessarily. I think the areas where it could make more difference. Now, the point is, and what you're getting at is, Redbubble sales are primarily going to be driven by organic reach. They're going to be driven by people searching on Redbubble, or more likely people searching on Google and ending up on Redbubble and then buying. So having a storefront is not necessarily something that's going to drive traffic. However, if you have designs that are around a particular niche or topic or market, then I do think having a storefront that kind of brands you, it can do things like give you an extra, what's the word, an extra kind of air of quality. People understand that they're buying from a designer who has put some thought and effort in, and it can also link to your other platforms, to your website, to your social media, and you can just kind of brand things and begin to at least do something towards branding and building a bit of a picture in the buyer's head that this is a professional outfit, or this is a professional designer, this is someone who's put some effort in, and therefore I can trust them and buy from them, and maybe I'll follow them on Instagram, or maybe I'll check out their website or something like that. So yeah, hope that answers that one for you, Sarah. Nikolay, it's have sense draw some trendy stuff and sell it on Redbubble, or draw just what I like and try to find my own style. So I think what you're asking, Nikolay, is should you try and do trend-based designs, looking at what's already selling, or should you just draw what you like and find your own style and pursue that? And I think the answer is really both, although it depends where you're at in your kind of journey and what your goals are. But assuming that you're starting out and you're kind of a beginner, then I think the best way to learn and to get sales on these platforms is to pay attention to trends. Now, that can mean a lot of things. That could mean looking at the current trending sellers on a platform and trying to figure out how you can do something that is somehow attached to those trends. It could mean looking at trends that people are searching for on the internet in general, or things that are happening on Reddit or other social media that's popping at the moment. It could mean looking at broader trends, or it could mean just having particular specific knowledge about a topic that isn't especially well served at the moment. Something very niche and very specific that's not necessarily a trend, but it's still a topic that a small group of people will be searching for, and you could get in there and kind of provide them with something that they've not already got. So I think that's the best way to go if you're trying to make sales and you're trying to learn and you're at the beginning stages. What you don't want to do at the beginning stages is just focus on original work, because by original work, what that really means is I want to draw this, and what you want to draw and what you want to create is often different from what people want to buy and what people are motivated to purchase. And so if you want to make sales, you should really be focused more on the markets and the people and the customers, and less on your particular style, if that makes sense. Now, what happens over time is that you should be able to kind of bring the two sides together so that you have your own style, you have your own approach, but you're also serving customers and markets and people, and you understand how to reach them. But you also have a style which is your own, and which sets you apart, which allows you to stand out and build something of a brand. So I hope that makes sense. It's kind of in the early stages, you want to test things out, you want to try a lot of things, but most importantly, you want to be thinking about the customer and the market that you're trying to serve. And as you do that, and as you do that at scale with lots of designs and lots of effort, within a year's time, or a couple of years' time, you'll have a clear picture of, okay, I know that I can reach these kind of customers. I know that they like these kind of designs. I'm going to keep on doing that. Or, you get a better picture of what's happening there. So I hope that helps you, Nikolay. I'm just going to have a quick drink here for a sec. Okay, Emily asked, what production partner are you using for Etsy? It's usually Printful/Printify, depending on the orders. So what we're doing at the moment is manually assigning orders to where's the best, because obviously there's delays with Printful and there are issues with some Printify suppliers. So we are, as soon as an order from Etsy comes in, we are just manually deciding, okay, send it to this, whether it's Printful or Printify. And obviously within Printify, you've got a couple of different printers who are currently live. So it's kind of okay, which ones are operational, which ones are seeing delays, which ones have been good for the past week or something, and kind of using that information. Hope that helps you, Emily. Okay, Chris, Redbubble, do likes and followers have an influence on how high your designs rank? Don't know. but I would assume they would have a nominal influence on how high they rank. Um, I think it's perhaps the other way around, that what tends to happen is your designs will rank, and obviously what impacts that is usually keywords and those kind of things, your titles, your descriptions, your tags. And because they rank, they end up getting lots of likes, and then followers may have an impact. I don't think that followers have a huge impact on where you rank. Um, I do think likes on individual designs probably do have some effect. So hope that helps you, Chris. South London reseller, what product has sold the most for you during this pandemic? Um, that's a good question. Don't know. I mean, I assume, and I think it's just the standard T-shirt, and some of our best-selling T-shirts are still our best-selling T-shirts. Nothing has really changed on that front. I think. Ooh, that's a really hard one. I don't know. I think what I've seen is just we are selling usually the same designs are still the best sellers, but across the board, obviously things have slowed down. Obviously, all our best sellers on Amazon are not selling because merch is down. But we're still selling a lot of T-shirts. We sell a lot of stickers through Redbubble and TeePublic, but mostly T-shirts and apparel and things like that. And on Etsy, we only really sell T-shirts, so it's a lot of T-shirts there. And I can't say we don't have any. I've not created any coronavirus designs. That's not my bag really. I'm not saying it's wrong to do so, but it's just not something I've been interested in doing. Um, so yeah, t-shirts are still winning the product race. I hope that helps you there, South London reseller. Okay, Ivan joined us. Amy is here. Amy Springer. Richard, how many Etsy shops do you have? I think right now it's about 3, maybe 4, but really we only have one. We have 2 that actually do anything, and we have a couple of others that we kind of set up a year or 2 ago. But we really just have 2 that actually make any difference, make any sales, I should say. Melek, which graphic program do you often use? I use Photoshop just because I'm what's the word? Just because of inertia, I can't bring myself really to give it up. I have stopped using Illustrator, and I've started to try and use Affinity Designer and Affinity. What's the other one called? I can't remember it now. But anyway, the Affinity, is it Serif Affinity programs, which are good and close to Photoshop. And if you're looking, I would recommend those because I think right now they're still $25 or $30 you can buy them for. And but if you're wedded to Adobe and Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff, then make sure you go and try and cancel your account right now, because you can. I think this is still the case. Anyway, it was the case a few weeks ago. But if you try to cancel it, you will get offered something like 2 months for free. So go and do that if you haven't done that already. Okay. Wendy, do you see a longer fulfillment time on TeePublic and Etsy orders? I don't see TeePublic orders. I don't know if you meant to say TeePublic there. I don't know how long they take to fulfill. That's not my business. But on Etsy orders, yes, we're definitely seeing longer fulfillment times. We're getting more questions from customers. When will this be sent? I haven't heard anything yet for a few days. And we're having to just kind of update them as we go. And we're having to cancel some orders just because the delays are a bit too much, for some customers. So yeah, we are seeing longer fulfillment times, but not so much that it renders the whole thing impossible. We're still able to do stuff and to make sales. Kirby, similar to Sarah's question, my design portfolio is all over the place style-wise. I haven't felt I've had enough success with a style to brand or go in a single direction. What would you recommend? Kirby, one thing that springs to mind is, instead of thinking of, because often we think as designers, I have my style and this is my style, and I need to develop my style, my unique style that defines me and makes me stand out from other people. I would say try and put that mindset to one side and instead think in terms of brands and like mini brands or collections of designs, and that way you kind of give yourself the freedom to play around with different styles and create little collections of designs that can be packaged, if you like, and sold as a brand, which is what we've done successfully with some collections of design. So we've had an idea, if we have an idea that we think is strong and we think there's room to do a number of designs in that style or on that topic. It could be like a particular joke, and you can apply it to various different animals or something like that. Then I've packaged them together. We've come up with a brand name. We've designed a logo for it, and we've offered that to our licensing partners as as a brand. So instead of just being, hey, here's 500 crazy T-shirt designs that are all over the place that serve all kinds of different markets and are in all kinds of different styles. Here's 30 designs all around this particular joke. They work as a collection. You could offer them as like a book. You could put them together as a calendar. You could put them together as a collection of posters or whatever. And we found that to be successful. So yeah, if you don't feel like you have a style, don't beat yourself up about it. Maybe think more in terms of, it's a bit like if you think about individual designs, and I've had an idea for a design, and then you have another idea for a design, and you have 10 different design ideas. The styles can be completely different because you're going after different markets and different people groups and different demographics. So in the same way as you might have a load of designs with different styles, you could develop collections of designs with different styles, and then you could package them together as mini brands that you can kind of license under, and it could be something that takes off, and maybe most of them don't do anything, but maybe one or two of them take off, and you have the makings of a little brand and a little identity that you can build into something that people follow and are interested in, and stuff like that. So hope that helps you, Kirby. B&A. I'm gonna have to drink some more water now. I'm losing my voice already. B&A, for a new POD business with no sales yet, do you recommend setting up the business as a limited liability company right away? How did you structure your business? So I can just tell you my journey. I was working a 9 to 5 as a graphic and web designer for about 7 years. Towards the end of that period, so maybe the last couple of years, I started selling t-shirts online through various platforms and grew it to be matching my 9 to 5 income. At that point, I left that job and operated as a solo, sole trader situation, self-employed for I think a year, and then after that, I incorporated as a limited company. So I guess the questions you need to ask yourself are. I think personally, my position would be until you know that you can make this work, until you have some money coming in, then just operate as a self-employed person. There's not really any significant downside to that. Well, obviously, I don't know where you are, what the tax situation is like in your area, but over here in the UK, there's not a massive difference between being self-employed and having a limited liability company. There's a couple of tax advantages if you're earning over certain amounts, but until you get there, I would say, why not just operate as a self-employed person? Hope that helps. Henry, if this pandemic doesn't end soon, what do you think will happen to merch? Do you think what happened to merch will extend to other platforms? I don't. That's a good question, Henry. I don't see that on the horizon. I think with the big platforms, Redbubble, TeePublic, and others, you see that their distribution channels are really distributed. So they don't have one or two big printers. They have a network of printers all around the world and in various different states and different countries and stuff. And I don't think, unless, well, never say never, but I don't see a situation where that would happen. I think, judging by the way things are going at the moment, it seems like some countries are beginning to end the lockdown. And if Redbubble and TeePublic and others have been operational through the lockdown, then I don't see why they would suddenly have to start closing the doors on stuff, I mean, there could be other reasons why they have to. I don't know. Things could change, but I don't see a reason why that would happen in the near future at all. Obviously, there are going to be consequences for different businesses of different sizes, but at the moment, I don't see. I don't think that Redbubble or TeePublic or any of your other big ones, Zazzle and Cafe Press and stuff, probably not going to see major disruption unless they've been if they've been disrupted already, then of course that changes things. But Redbubble, TeePublic, Etsy, and stuff, these are all keeping going. Printful and Printify, they're still operational. So if they've been able to operate so far and things seem to be beginning to just turn a little bit, then perhaps they'll be able to keep going and bounce back pretty nicely. So we'll see. Angela, as a new designer, how easy is it for our designs to be seen on the platforms, as the bigger runners will be on the top slots? Most people get bored with constant scrolling. Could it be they steal our ideas and we will not get a good return? Can you patent the design on a site? So good questions, Angela. I think the biggest thing to understand here in your question is that most of the sales to big platforms, whether that's Merch by Amazon, Redbubble, TeePublic, they originate through organic search, which means that a customer goes to Redbubble and types in something they're searching for. So they might go in and type in, for example, Tiger King or something like that, which is a trending search at the moment. Once they've searched, then they'll see all the top designs. But what you need to understand is that people don't just go to Redbubble and start scrolling, and they don't just go to Merch by Amazon and start scrolling. There is no Merch by Amazon for them to scroll through. They have to search for something first. So if you understand that, then what you should be able to grasp as well is that whenever there's a new topic, whenever there's a new trend, whenever there's something happening, or even something that's not necessarily new, but it's popular all of a sudden, or a particular subject, a particular historical person, a particular topic or hobby becomes big, then if you have knowledge about that, then you can create designs about that, and you can be in that search results page with other people. Now, it might be that you're one of the first to spot a certain trend or a certain topic, in which case you would be perhaps the only one who's created a design around that, and so you're not competing with anyone. So don't worry about big runners taking the top slots, because when it comes to a new topic and a new trend, everyone's kind of on a level playing field almost. Usually, what matters is obviously your design, your understanding of the market, your idea, your concept, how well that relates to what people are searching for and what they're looking to buy, and how well you use keywords in your titles, your descriptions, and your tags to actually help your design get ranked in the first place. So if you do all that stuff and you're able to identify a topic or a market or something that's either underserved or is trending, it's something that's going to grow, but right now it's small and there's very little competition, then you can get eyeballs on your designs. And that's what I've done successfully in years gone by, and is still working for me. I think that's where the kind of silver lining always is with print on demand. There's always the opportunity to create something new before other people do, and to get in and serve low competition phrases and serve niche communities that other people maybe don't know about, or they don't know about yet, or maybe you just happen to have you have 500 or 1,000 designs. You cover so many different small. Hello, am I back? Oh dear. Can you hear me? Let me see here. What's going on? Okay. Can you still hear me, guys? Sorry about that. I'll just scroll quickly down to the bottom to see if anybody... No comments on me dropping off, so okay. Hope that's a good thing. I hope you can still hear me okay. I think we're doing okay. Let me just scroll down. Oh, Nikolai says yes. Thank you, Nikolai. Okay, so yes, Angela, as I was saying, what was I saying? Yeah, so you don't need to worry really about big hitters taking your stuff. People do steal designs. That is definitely a thing that happens. If people can see that a design is popular, they will copy it. They will try and imitate it. They will do similar designs or direct copies of it. So you can't patent your design. You can't patent it on a site. You can complain about direct copyright infringement and have that taken down. So if someone takes your design exactly as it is or very close to what it is and copies it, you can file a DMCA request and get it removed. But apart from that, you don't really have much protection. So yeah, the game is really find new underserved markets and sell stuff to them, and take the rough with the smooth, as in you have to accept or you have to be prepared for people to steal your stuff, and you can file DMCAs to get direct copycats taken down, but you just have to live with the fact that open marketplaces like Redbubble, like Merch by Amazon, they are going to be full of people who are competing with you, and they are going to notice if things are become top sellers. They're going to notice pretty quickly, and they're going to try and get a piece of that pie as well. Okay. Deanne, yes, you did send me an email, but I don't think I'm going to get to the email. I don't think I'm going to get to the emails because there seems to be so many live questions. I want to get through as many of these. Look at all these questions. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Elmar, hi Michael. So yeah, we got about 15 minutes left. I'll try and get through as many of these live ones just because I know, that's what I want to do. So Elmar, how are you looking to the POD business after the pandemic? This is a good question. I did have someone ask me a similar question on. These are some of the questions that I got through. So if I can, instead of Elmar answering your question, I'll just pull this one up because I do think this is perhaps a useful one for us to dive in a bit deeper on. This was from Gary, I think. He asked, how has COVID-19 affected the top 5 POD printers? Any details are very much appreciated. So to answer that one first, Gary, Merch by Amazon is out of action. They have closed their facilities due to COVID. But as far as I know, no other print-on-demand company, certainly no other major print-on-demand company, has closed. It has led to a slowdown in sales on Redbubble for me personally, but not on TeePublic, not on Etsy, and not really significantly anywhere else. And POD fulfillment companies like Printify and Printful, they are suffering delays, but they are not out of action as yet. Secondly, if printers are still functioning, has price per garment escalated? That's a good question. It hasn't escalated I've not noticed an escalation. I've not noticed a reduction in royalties. I've not noticed price increases from Printful or Printify. But if we do have a significant economic turndown, which it looks like we're heading into, then that could be an issue. I remember talking to an insider at Merch by Amazon who said that they have to watch the cotton prices on a daily basis because of how many shirts they are producing and printing, and how big of a impact that has on their bottom line. So yes, I would expect that if there are significant supply chain problems with cotton, with manufacturers and garment producers and stuff, that may pass on to the websites. They may have to reduce royalties. They may have to raise prices. Who knows? That could happen. And then Gary asked, how do you envisage the next 3 to 18 months in the business regarding sales and future forecasts, taking into account the financial slump we're heading into and what can be done to cushion the blow? So personally, the next 3 to 18 months, I think within the next 3 to 18 months, I'd expect us to be over the worst of the shutdown and all that kind of stuff. Future forecasting is always very difficult. I'm not an economist. I'm not anyone with any kind of specialist knowledge on this stuff. I do think there will be new opportunities off the back of it. I do think some businesses will close, some small t-shirt operators, maybe some small print-on-demand sites, maybe some small print-on-demand fulfillment sites and associated companies may close or be up for sale or something like that, because I think there are going to be financial issues not related really to the businesses, but financial issues in as much as some businesses will be over leveraged. They'll have debts they can't pay. They'll have staff they can't keep on, and they'll have to let people go. So I just, whenever there's a financial slump, and certainly if there's going to be one that seems to be as big as what we're heading into, then that is going to affect businesses, and I would expect some businesses to close. I don't know, what businesses those would be or anything like that, but I do think that that's something we could perhaps expect. The way to cushion the blow, I think, is to there's various things you can do. If you're obviously there's cushioning the blow as in you need to get money right now because you need to eat and you don't have any cash. If you're in that situation, then you need to get some cash in very quickly. I think the best option there, if you're a designer, if you're an illustrator or something, is to go and look for work, look for commissioned work, look for freelance gigs or whatever. That's the quickest way to get money in. That's what I did for a couple of years before print on demand really took off for me, and that's the best way to get money in the door. If you're someone who has some established income from print on demand, and you want to cushion the blow and the impact on that, then I would say diversifying your designs across different platforms is a good route to go down. But then probably what you really want to do is be thinking about how you can build something that can really last long term, because as the slump hits, I think what will happen is there's going to be opportunities there for people to build things which within 3 and 5 years could be really big and really successful. And of course that's the case all the time, but now's as good a time as any to actually start building that now, so that in 3 or 5 years time down the line, you've got something that's actually really valuable. What you don't want to really be in, or the situation you don't want to be in, is in 3 or 5 years time, you've really just got a load of designs on a lot of print on demand sites, because that's not really a strong business, as we've seen in the past few months. If you had a great income, if you were making thousands of dollars a month from merch by Amazon, they just switched the faucet off and now you've got nothing. That's not the situation you want to be in. And you don't want to simply be creating more designs for merch by Amazon and in 5 years' time, the whole thing happens again, if you see what I mean. So what I would recommend is that you begin to think about what you're good at, what you're interested in, what kind of long-term business you could build. It could be anything from your own brand to a web comic to a some educational business, anything that's kind of something you can control. And the real key there is to have something where you're in direct communication with a customer, which is the big problem with print on demand, especially with merch by Amazon and Redbubble and others, is you are not responsible for the sales. You can do very little to increase the sales. You are relying on organic traffic. So okay, it's still good in many ways because you can kind of tap into organic traffic, you can ride trends, you can piggyback on things that are happening. But in the long term, you really want a business where you can communicate with an audience and sell them something and promote something, and whether that's an email list or a large Instagram following or whatever it is, you want to have some way you can communicate with people. So I just say start thinking now about how you can build something like that. Okay, let's get back to the live questions, and I'll stick this back on the original slide. So we've got about 10 minutes left, if that. I'll try and get through as many as I can, but I think we'll have to kind of cut it after that, guys. But thanks for sticking with me for so long. Hopefully I'll get to your question. Okay, Joseph, I want to set up a website for my t-shirts. How would you consider selling your course on this without the whole plugin platform part? Or would you please consider selling your course on this without the whole plugin platform part? Joseph, short answer is no. The course that Joseph is referring to is called Simple Shirt Site, and it's a plugin it's basically teaches you how to set up your own WordPress website, and then it gives you a plugin to allow you to quickly upload designs and create that. It doesn't make sense without the plugin. Joseph. It just doesn't work. It would just be me telling you how to set up a WordPress site, which it doesn't really make much sense. So it doesn't work without that side of it. So hope that answers your question. Ivan, is now a bad time to apply for merch and tougher to get approved? Can you even still apply? Do you think the applicant pool is more crowded now with people out of work looking for additional income? So 3 questions there. Is now a bad time to apply for merch? Is it tougher to get approved? Don't know and don't know. I would say simply apply, Ivan, and you will find out. Well, it doesn't matter if it's tougher to get approved anyway, because you still have to apply to get approved. So whether it's tough or not tough, apply anyway. Can you still apply? Don't know. Think so. I've not heard otherwise, but just go to merch.amazon.com and try. Do you think the applicant pool is more crowded now? The one thing that merch isn't really, I think, is it's not fast income. I mean, even if you create a design, if you were able to create a design and it started selling straight away, obviously you're waiting at least 30 days and more to see the money. So it's not quick income. So I don't think people would be running to it as a kind of let me get some cash in the door kind of thing. But perhaps people will be thinking of ways they can generate income. So they might be applying in increased numbers. That's something that might happen. So hope that answers that for you, Ivan. Danielle, do you submit to Woot? It seems it is much more profitable than the other competition sites. That's an interesting question, Danielle, because I just today added a load of shirt-a-day sites to my Airtable. I don't know if you're aware of my Airtable. In fact, let me pop this up here. If you go to this, the URL that's scrolling across the bottom of your page, michaelessick.com/print on demand sites with hyphens in between, then I break down the best print on demand sites. But if you sign up to my newsletter there, you'll be able to get a link to this this Airtable base, which includes traffic and organic traffic numbers on all these websites. And today I went in, let me make this bigger, and added some shirt-a-day sites. So I added QWERTY and Woot and a load of others. So the surprise to me was that QWERTY is actually the biggest shirt-a-day site, so 24-hour-a-day sale T-shirt type site. And it out even more monthly visits than Threadless, much more than T-Fury, and Woot is the second one on the kind of shirt-a-day model. So to answer your question, I've not submitted to Woot for a long time. They were one of the first sites I did submit to. I did have something accepted, I think, and printed on Woot. I would recommend giving it a go. Absolutely, just why not? And don't just submit 1 or 2 designs, but try and submit, at least a decent bunch, maybe over a period of time, and just see what comes from it. I'm not saying that they are going to be massively profitable in the same way that Redbubble or TeePublic can be, but it's certainly a good place to stretch yourself, to come up with ideas, to try and create quality designs, because your designs have to be approved and they have to be of a certain quality. So it's a good place to test things there. So yeah, hope that helps you, Danielle. Okay. Okay, thank you. Someone there just confirming that Facebook is pretty cheap when it comes to ads right now. So that's useful. Just to be clear, could you recap what platforms are actually still providing POD services and whether or not there are any delays in the printing process? I think I've answered that one already. So everyone is still working, apart from Merch by Amazon, Printful and Printify, and probably other print-on-demand fulfillment companies, but I only use those 2 usually. Those 2 are experiencing delays, but they're still working and they're still operational. Printforia, thank you guys, thank you for that. That's lovely. Chris Brown, if you mail a copy of the design to yourself and do not open to mail, it is dated by the postal service and can be used to prove the date you created the design. We call it poor man's copyright. Yes, that is a thing, Chris. If you want to do that digitally, there's a a site called Pixie, which will track copyright and stuff, or you could have your own website and upload your designs there, which can act as a kind of poor man's copyright as well. The problem with poor man's copyright is it's not copyright and it's not actually legally worth much, I think, if you want to take something to law. But I defer to anyone who knows more about that than me. I am not a lawyer. You should never listen to me or take advice from me about anything ever, least of all legal issues. Not that I've ever been in trouble with the law. I have not, but I'm not a lawyer. B&A, helpful information, wonderful. Okay, great. It's hard for me to sometimes tell the questions from non-questions. How do you manage a copycat situation? Thaddeus, it gets harder when you have thousands of designs. It becomes almost impossible, but you can file DMCA takedowns when you find someone stealing your design. So if it's a direct pixel for pixel copy or very close to it, then you can file a takedown request. All platforms, Redbubble, Merch, TeePublic, all these sites, they all have a link at the bottom usually which says copyright information or IP information or legal or something like that, and you'll be able to submit a takedown request following their instructions. I think I link to that as well in let me get rid of that banner there, in my print on demand FAQs thing. So if you go to michaelessick.com, and I think it's one of the more recent articles. Yeah, so there's an article here about FAQs, and I think on this one I link to some of the, maybe it's to another one. Anyway, there's some, I'll try and find that and post it at some other point, Thaddeus, but there's links to where you need to go to file takedowns on all those sites. Omri, which is the best platform to work with Facebook ads? Don't know, Omri. If you're talking about running Facebook ads for like Shopify, then there was a retarget plugin I used at the time. I can't remember what that was called. So yeah, hope that helps you, Omri. I can't imagine it does. Hui, hi, ha. Can you talk a little about Displate? Not much about Displate, apart from they print on metal. They print posters. They have a very large Facebook following. They seem to be doing quite a lot of promotions. They do a lot of retargeting. I have not really listed many designs on there. I don't think I've had any sales on there yet, but I do think they could be a decent up and coming opportunity for designers. I don't think there's much organic traffic there, but I do think if you go on Display and you look at some of their categories and where and what's selling, then it could be a good opportunity for people, because it's kind of a low competition thing at the moment. There's not many people selling on there. It could be worth checking out. Okay, Mantis, would you make different approaches to your POD licensing business if you would go selling t-shirts as a personal streetwear brand versus selling behind a brand name you created? That's a good question, Mantis. It's interesting. I was thinking about that today with regards to, selling as an individual designer versus selling as a brand. I do think there are quite a lot of advantages to selling as a brand, namely things like the ability to sell that business at some point in the future, the ability to let it change hands and, bring in staff to help you do stuff, or other designers and things. I think selling as a brand is worth thinking about, in the same way that previously I talked in the session about creating mini brands and kind of mini collections of designs that you could license as kind of prepackaged, collections. In the same way, you could think of those as brands, and you can think of a brand as that. It really is just you slap a name on something, you give something a logo, and you set it out into the world, and it can attract people, and you can build something around that. So I think it's harder to do that as an individual, because most of us don't want to be a brand as a person. We don't want a personal brand. We don't want to be, known as an individual. We just want to make money from our artwork, or we want to make money from our designs, or we want to create things. And we don't necessarily want a personal following. Even people like me who put out information and sell courses and books and stuff, we don't really want to be, or I certainly don't want to be, famous or, a YouTuber or anything like that. So I think, especially for a lot of artists and introverts, that's the way we think and feel. We don't want to be a brand, and therefore it makes sense to maybe create your stuff under a brand name. And it could be as simple as, an avatar and a name, and you're still an individual, but it's not your personal name. But I would also consider, think about creating as a brand, as a company type setup. You don't have to be a company to do that, but it can be a good way to protect your not protect your identity, but at least brand something and really make it more about the company, more about the product, and less about you as a person. But there's pros and cons either way, and you've got me rambling. So let me see if I can get through a few more questions before we wrap it up. How is traffic and SEO with your WordPress-based simple shirt site? Is there an example site to look at? Not at the moment, Electro, but if you go, well, yeah, I was going to say, if you go through the course, that I teach you how to do everything in there, and there's an example in there, but obviously you can't see that unless you've taken the course. Basically, it's a very simple setup. It just is a WordPress site that links out to your designs. And especially with low competition stuff, with new trends and things like that, it's a good way to drive traffic. And it's a good way to get higher rankings, because a link to, from a domain to an Amazon listing or to a Redbubble listing can cause that to rise up the rankings fast. So that's the kind of theory behind it. You obviously don't have to use my plugin or my course to do it. You can set up your own website. It doesn't have to be WordPress either. It can be anything, and simply link through to your designs. And simply having that set up, it could be a simple portfolio site or whatever. Simply having that allows you to benefit from, some traffic and some stuff there. So I hope that kind of explains it. Sue says, I'm interested in learning more about working with licensees. Can you point me in a direction where I can learn more? I'm on Merch Collab, but only a few designs were ever reviewed. Okay, so yeah, I think I did see your message about this. I think you asked about Merch Collab, and I think at the moment, well, certainly at the moment, Merch Collab is dead. I had nominal success with Merch Collab early on, but I think really the people who were involved in that and really got that off the ground have kind of stepped away, or are not really working at Merch anymore, or they've moved on to other things within Merch. So I wouldn't recommend investing a lot of time on Merch Collab at the moment. I would really leave that for now. Obviously, if you do get replies and you do get something for the designs you've submitted, then carry on with that. But I've found that to be, I think it's kind of like a good idea and a project that they started up, but they didn't really have the legs to keep it going, and they didn't really have the internal team at Merch to really give it the attention it needed. And I think it's not something I can really recommend for designers and artists right now, unless it kind of changes in the near future. With regards to working with licensees and official stuff like that, you can just reach out to people. You can just reach out to brands and see if you can work with them. There are also, in normal circumstances, there are multiple trade shows around licensing. There's a big one in Las Vegas every year. I don't know if that's been cancelled yet. But those are great places to go and learn more about licensing, to bump into licensors, to go and offer your services to people, and to maybe find other people you could actually license their IP and create designs for. So check those out. The big one is called Licensing Expo in Las Vegas. I was there last year. It's a good show. It's worth going and checking out, and they do lots of education and seminars and stuff. So it's worth going to something like that if you're interested. It's free to attend as well. Omri says, how do I create trust of users to buy shirts from me when the users still don't know me? Depends where you're selling, Omri. A lot of the time, if you're selling on a big platform like Redbubble or Amazon or TeePublic, they don't need to trust you because you're not really who they're buying from. They're buying from the company or the site. If you're selling on a Shopify store or something, then you can do all kinds of things. You can have reviews, you can have the little proof things that someone just bought something, or you can have really great quality pictures that kind of prove that you've made a lot of effort. All kinds of things like that can help build trust. For newbies here with plenty of time in their hands, what do you recommend we do to start getting the ball rolling over the next 3 to 4 months? That's a good question, Largent. Largent or Largent? Um, Plenty of time on your hands. I would think about what you want. As in, do you want cash, money? Is that really the thing you're looking at most importantly, or are you looking to build something and build a long-term business? And that's always been my focus: is how can I build something that's going to really grow and sustain, and is sustainable, and also could actually be still here 5 or 10 years from now. And I think, off the top of my head, I would do things like try to find opportunities that fit with you and your design style, and perhaps a market and a community that you know something about, and create as much as you can, as many designs as you, excuse me, as many designs as you can around that topic, and just test. You've got to do a lot of stuff. So if you've got time on your hands, that's great, because you can create a lot of designs. And creating a lot of designs, unique designs, is what really made a big difference in my business. Now we have thousands of designs, and those thousands of designs, even in very bad times, still produce income. So the more designs you have, the better you'll be. But start thinking now about where you want to be after that. So say that you do have lots of designs, you have thousands of dollars a month coming in royalty income. Where do you go from there? Because there comes a point where you hit diminishing returns, where adding new designs simply doesn't actually create much more income, could actually stall completely. So what do you do there? So think about that now. Think about, what kind of business, if you were guaranteed to succeed, what kind of business would you build? Would it be something built around you as an individual? Would you do a web comic? Would you do a brand and create your own products? And would you like to see your designs in stores? Are there certain stores that really fit with your designs? Would you like to see your designs on certain platforms, or worn by certain people? All those kind of questions that you could be asking. Like, just don't have this blinkered view of just print on demand, just online, but think about how you could build something that's really long term, that actually stretches out, way beyond those limits. And I think that will help. Okay, I think we're going to have to end it soon, but I will quickly scroll through. I won't be able to get through all these questions, but if there's any that I think I can give a good answer for, I'll just pick those out. Thank you for these questions, by the way. I'm just looking through a few of them. Anthony, on my website, saw through Printful. Let me see that one. Anthony, on my website, I sell through Printful. Should I offer full refunds for any reason, or only refunds on mistakes from our end? I offer full refunds for any reason, within a certain time frame. So yes, I think the big question there is, do you want to have happy customers or not? And even people who have returned a shirt because they're not happy with it, or they change their mind, you're probably going to have better karma long term. I don't believe in karma, but I think you get my point. An unhappy customer causes more problems than a happy customer, obviously, but you don't want those problems. So in my businesses, whether it's Etsy or a Shopify or whatever, we would just refund the customer, just try and keep them happy. And you just have to factor that into your sales. You just have to anticipate that, okay, you're going to sell so many, but you're going to have a certain percentage that are going to return, and it's simply part of doing business. You have to accept that and factor that in. Okay, I think we might have to close it up there. Yeah, there's just too many questions for me to get through, guys. I could keep going, but I think my voice is going to cut out any minute now. So for those whose questions I wasn't able to get to, I'm sorry about that. I am still just scrolling through your comments, and there's some very good questions, but I'm just not going to be able to get through them all today. So listen, guys, sorry I can't answer everyone's question. It was just a little too, we got a little bit overwhelmed. I tell you what, though, let's do this again next week. So if I didn't answer your question, you can just hold it till next week, copy and paste it for next week, if that's okay. And we'll do it again next week. I'll send out an email about when that's going to be, and obviously make sure you're following me on Facebook and YouTube, subscribe, like, all the things, so that you'll be alerted when we're going live again next week. So yeah, thank you, guys. Listen, I keep seeing comments and seeing good questions. I want to answer them, but I just think if I don't quit it, then my voice will give out, and then I won't be any good for next week either. So thank you for joining me. If you want more information, there's more information on my website. There's some good, recent blog posts there about print-on-demand sites, print-on-demand companies, some FAQs and stuff. Have yourself a great rest of the day. I'll try and we'll definitely do this next week. I'll update you on when that will be. And if you have any questions you want to email in, you can do that as well. Just michael@michaelessick.com. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I hope you're keeping positive and chin up and all that kind of stuff. And just thank you for your time. And hopefully we'll be able to answer some more of your questions next week. So yeah, all right, I'll quit it there. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day, good weekend and everything. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.